to start in just about 1 minute, so I'll give folks another minute or two to join us. I'm hoping that you can hear me. You want to give a chat in the window to anybody that can hear, that would be great. All right, I see a couple people that are chatting in here that they can see us. Great, fantastic. So my name is Christiane Smith. I'm the director of Unanet University. Also on the line today is Zoe Rand, one of our customer success managers. Hi, Zoe.
Hi, Christiane. Hi, everyone.
So we appreciate you all coming today. Zoe will be answering any questions and queuing up in the question queue and also managing the chat window. So if you have some questions as we're going through the presentation, please be sure to ask them in the question window. So today we are going to be covering Unanet 10.2 enhancements, which is our latest and greatest version that's available. I would like to talk first about the dates. So Unanet 10.2 will be upgraded in your system if you are an on-demand customer, meaning that we host your Unanet for you and you log into unanet.biz to access your Unanet site on Saturday, January 21st. So if you are an on-demand customer, we will migrate your system on that date. You may notice that the system is down and unavailable in the morning, and we plan to have the systems up by the end of the day on Saturday the 21st, so that when you come into work on the 23rd, you'll have Unanet upgraded to this 10.2 version. If you're on premise, meaning that you host Unanet yourself, the 10.2 software is available now. It's available on our Unanet administrator's site through support.unanet.com. So contact your IT team to access that information, and if you have any questions or concerns about the upgrade on your on-premise environment, please contact our support team at support@unanet.com or through our main support phone number. So with that said, and the availability of Unanet 10.2 version, let's go ahead and talk about how are you going to find out more information. Well, the documentation is available already for the 10.2 release. When you go into the help documentation for the 10.2 release, it's available up at the top of the contents menu in the What's New in This Release. If you're still using a prior version of Unanet, then you won't see that in the What's New in This Release, but if you go to our Knowledge Center main page and on the welcome area, if you click on this link to the Unanet Help Docs, that'll take you into the 10.2 version of the help documentation with the What's New and a list of all the features that are available, description of them all, and drill downs into articles on each one of the items that's included in this new release. One of the great things about this release is that the majority of the items that were included have come in from customer suggestions. It's really nice to be able to see a lot of little things, if you will, that have come in through suggestions that we've been able to add to the product. And just as a reminder, you can add your suggestions to the list using the email suggestions@unanet.com. So if you have suggestions for us on the product, please do send them in to our product management team, and we will put that on the list, and hopefully it'll make it into a new version of the product. So what are the big enhancements in 10.2? Well, a lot of them have to do with reporting. And so we're going to talk first about all of the new reporting enhancements that are available in 10.2. I'm going to start by talking about a brand new report that's available for project managers, and this report is available if you have our portfolio or our portfolio financials license. This report is called the Project Control Panel. This report is intended to be able to show within this project dashboard all information that a project manager may need to know in immediate real time, like revenue, the funded value, what's been billed, what write-offs there are, any other adjustments, the ability to drill down from this report to look at transactions and information to give a good analysis of what's happening within the project. This is an example of the report, here broken out into two different sections because it's columns across the screen. We wanted to be able to show you all of the different pieces here. So the dashboard report report gives you, again, all of this really great information coming from the project profile, coming in from all of the various elements of the system, and transactions to be able to show things like calculated revenue, any write-offs that are included in the invoices, or other adjustments that are coming in to the total of the revenue. We're also able to look at information, like the budget, the funded value, all within one report, one view, which is really, really fantastic, and I'm very excited about this one. In addition to all of the great information that's included directly on this report when you run it, there's also the ability to go in and drill down. There's a number of drill downs within this report to go to areas like the project itself. So the project code column is active. You can click there to go to the project itself, make updates, and other information is needed. Additionally, there's an accordion icon over here on the left, which allows you to drill down into supplemental reports that show the transaction information that's related to the data shown here. So for example, I can go to the billing and revenue summary report, the cost status report, other reports that are related to that. So I'd like to go ahead and take a look at that report by logging into Unanet and bringing this one up so that you can take a look at it. So from my reports dashboard, again, if I have the portfolio or portfolio financials license, under the project accounting report section, you'll see this new project control panel report available under the summary reports area. The project control panel report can be brought up by a number of different filters. These are very similar to other filters you may have seen in other Unanet reports before, things like the project code, the owning organization or customer, filtering by things like project manager, etc. Some interesting new items to consider are the sorting options available here. So if you're including more than one project, you can go out and sort those by the owning organization or the customer. You can also sort this one by the project manager. So if you're looking for information to run a project management meeting, you can sort by that option. And then you can group and subtotal by any of the sorting options that you choose as well. We also have, as we've seen in previous reports, things like the relative date ranges and column options to be able to include values that you'd like to see. So for example, maybe it's not important for you to look at current period, you'd rather just look at the entire history to date, but you would want to include things like the project manager or the total values. So here you're able to select and deselect some of the options that you may want to choose based on what you're looking for. In addition to these column options, you can then also filter the report by additional metrics. So just not by customer or by project name, but here filtering by metrics, maybe looking at only projects that have revenue over a certain amount, or looking at things that only have a certain percentage of remaining funded value, something to be able to help you to target in on where you are and look at those reports that need your specific attention potentially. Lastly, in this criteria screen, we have the option to go through and click through options, and that will take us to the ability to control here what we see when we click through the cost summary and status report. We can see the version of that report that's created from our cost report setup by the administrator. We can also control things here like which periods want to see, the data and information that you want to look at, and how many periods you'd want to look at, in addition to things like including the actuals, the budgets, etc., etc. So when I go out and run this report, the first thing that I'll see here for my project, I did isolate a single project, are information like the date ranges that come from my project profile. I can see information about this current period that I've selected, the previous year, the revenue from the previous year, the billed amount, etc. And I can also see other values for if my year-to-date had been different. I can see that, inception to date, etc., etc. I can see the budgeted numbers and the funded values, and so I can see that percent of funding that I've used. With the financials license, I'm also available to look here at the AR balance, so I can see not only the past due balance, but any current balances. Any of these numbers that are highlighted in blue, and there's a couple of them in this report, are drill down numbers. So for example, my current AR balance number is a drill down that opens a new tab in my browser and lets me look at the AR aging report. So that's one of the great things about this dashboard or control panel. It's giving you the insights directly into other information that may be helpful to you. So in addition to those number drill downs, over here on the far left, I have this accordion menu, which opens up the ability for you to drill into additional project reports for the project. And if you have multiple projects listed here, they would each have their own menu item here. So I can go from here directly into my billing and revenue summary, again on another tab, which would take me in and show me this report for the unbilled draft and billed dollars, deferred and recognized revenue. I can also drill into other reports like the invoice status or the cost summary and status, which is showing me my labor, ODC, and indirect details. So it's a really convenient way to start off with and look and analyze information and then be able to drill further into the details. This may be a great report to get into the hands of your project managers that are still trying to find their way around the system, to be able to give them one place to go and then expand from there into those additional metrics and reports. So I hope you like this report. There's an awful lot to learn with it. There's a lot of things to do with it, but it's a really great report. And just as another quick reminder, in the help documentation, we do have the formulas for how we calculate all of these different values. So if you have any questions about the values that are coming up in your report, the help documentation is a great place to start with looking at the formulas for how we're calculating these numbers. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of other financial items, since we're talking about the financials license a little bit here. So for those of you that have a financials license, we are happy to now offer the trending income statement report, which gives trend analysis to help your financial managers determine how the company is likely to perform over time. The new trending income statement, which is available to view by the administrator and the GL viewers, has the ability to compare the current fiscal year with projections based on the GL budget profiles that are set up in your system. In addition, there's an option to compare the actuals with the previous year's actuals, or to compare the current actuals to the budgeted numbers, so that you can look at that information based on the different accounts that you have in your chart of accounts. And if you've used our standard income statement previously, you'll see that you have the option to show the accounts at different levels of detail. In addition to this trending income statement, we also have a new AP activity report and a new AR activity report that allow you to go out and take a look at transactions and specific information that's feeding into AR and AP for given periods of time. So if I head back over here into Unanet real quick, I can go out and I can take a look at the trending income statement report, which I have saved on my list here. So here I'm looking at my income statement over time, comparing, in this case, fiscal month to fiscal month, all of my transactions, which I'm looking at system data here that I don't have a whole lot listed, but I can also see that actual data with the budgets, and then the variances is how I configured this report to run. And back on the criteria screen here, I have the options to include what I want to look at as that forecast based on, again, on my GL budget profiles that I've defined within the system, and as the administrator, you define these profiles. I'm also choosing to include the actual fiscal periods that I'm using, and then I'm choosing to compare that, but I have the other options for doing comparisons here. Lastly, I am deciding that my precision level in this report as well, so it gives you the ability to maybe drill down into smaller numbers if you're looking at a smaller, shorter period of time, or to roll this up into larger numbers if you want to share this with your executive management. In addition to that trending income statement, as I mentioned, we also have the AP and the AR transaction reports as new reports in the system. This is an example of the AP transaction report. It's showing for each one of the vendors different AP transactions for a specific period of time that I've indicated. It does include out here the transaction number, so as I click on this, I can go down into a new window and I can see that information specifically, so I can actually drill into a view of that voucher or in this case an invoice, as I'm looking at the data. So this is a really great way to get a consolidated view of the different activities that I've had, in this case for AP, but the same information is available on the AR side. And I think these are going to be really great reports to have available to your viewers. In addition to those financial reports, those of you with a portfolio or portfolio financials license will also have the ability to look at some new project accounting enhancements in the periodic cost summary and status, and the summary by cost elements report. So currently, when you're using Unanet, you have the opportunity to look at budgets for labor and expenses, or plans for labor and expenses, and include your actuals through a specific date. But you don't have a way currently to include both the plans and the budgets and the actuals in these three reports. Well, with Unanet 10.2, you are going to have that capability. So we're going to give you the options here to show the plans and or the budgets and or the actuals, and then combine them into a single line if you'd like to look at that combined concept of actuals through a specific date, and then your plans or budgets moving forward. What this is really powerful for is looking at projections based on actuals and for forecasting your what-if scenarios moving forward for a pipeline review. Also remember that because this is based on the cost summary report definitions, you have the ability to define multiple views here of this information. The administrator of your system can go out and create multiple views of the cost report under the administrator menu, and that allows you to look at this data using different metrics or in different ways. Again, the idea of a detailed view versus a summary view. So I would encourage you to go out and take a look at this, particularly if you are using the system to do your labor and expense plans and budgets, and you want to be able to compare those to actuals in these cost summary reports. Another reporting enhancement that we have available in 10.2 are more drill down options, specifically in our financial license. When you're looking at the income statement, the GL trial balance, the AP aging, or the AR aging reports, we have new drill downs available in these reports. It's helpful to understand the detailed transactions that contribute to the dollar value shown in the reports, and so it's giving you a lot of ability to look at this additional information. The next report I'd like to mention is the Project Transactions Report. This report has existed in Unanet prior to 10.2. However, in 10.2 we did include some new selection area or criteria options for you to be able to select your reports based on billing type for both the task and the project, which will give you more flexibility as you're looking for transactions to include in your report. Because this is a relatively new report, although it's not brand new in 10.2, it's a relatively new report, I did think that we should go through and take a brief review of this report. It's a very helpful report when you're digging through and looking at transaction information. It's also one of the reports that's available as the drill down from our new Project Control Panel report. So the Project Transactions Report is available in the tracking and the portfolio suite of licenses, with financials or without. The intention of this report is to provide details related to what transactions have been charged to a particular project. And those transactions can include things like labor, expenses, fixed price items, funding caps, etc., etc. So there's a lot of information that's included in this transaction report. The additional details come in regardless of whether or not those transactions have been posted to the GL, if you have our financials license. So you are able to look at this information even if you're not using financials to see what information's come in. And in this sample report, you can see the task level information on the left. In this case, I'm including the people with their labor category on the labor, hours, and charge information. I'd also be able to look at the expense dollars if there were any for this project. And you can see at the bottom here some grand totals by project manager, by customer, by project, etc. Now this project transactions report gives you all of this great information at the project level. Many of you have asked for additional reporting at the task level. So I'm happy to announce that in Unanet 10.2 we do have some new task level reporting enhancements that are available in the tracking and portfolio license for our cost summary report, the periodic cost summary and status reports if you have the portfolio license, the labor and ODC cost detail report. So these are able to now show the task information. It's very beneficial to have this information if you're inputting budget values at the task level, so you can track and report at the task level and compare the actuals you're reporting at the task or subtask level. Another report that's been enhanced in 10.2 that has been available in Unanet for some time is the project status report. This report is also available in our tracking and our portfolio licenses. The project status report includes now two new columns, the gross revenue, the funded value, and the gross to funded value percentage. This report now includes the fixed price item based on the date of the report. In previous versions, we weren't looking at the fixed price items in this report. And I would like to remind you again that in the help documentation, we do include the formulas for things like gross revenue. In this case, gross revenue is calculated based on the project or task billing type by looking at all time expenses and financial document expenses, regardless of their status. It's calculating revenue based on the rules for the project billing type or the task billing type. Please note that based on the fact that this is gross revenue, we are not looking at revenue caps, fee caps, or write-offs. However, we are looking at revenue-related additional items from the invoices and the fixed price items, if you have any. So these are our major report enhancements, and I'm very excited about these. I hope that you found a few items here in the report enhancements that you'll be able to use. And I will get back into Unanet here in a few minutes to show you a couple of these in real time. But before I do, I'd like to go ahead and move on to a couple of additional enhancements that have come in to the system that we can also show that are not necessarily related to reports, but are new information related to our labor plans specifically. So one of the new features in 10.2 is the ability to show in the reports a different proration calculation for your remaining hours in a resource plan, or dollars if that's what you're showing. So for example, I have a plan set up in my system to work 8 hours a day, Monday through Friday. Okay? Pretty simple. So 8 hours a day, I'm going to be working on this project Monday through Friday. In your current Unanet system, if you include the actual reporting through Tuesday and then your plans moving forward, if you are burning low, meaning that you have recorded less hours, 4 hours on Monday and 6 hours on Tuesday, and then we're going to show you the plans remaining for the week, you'd end up with only a total of 34 hours based on the actuals you've worked, and then the same plans moving forward. Now this view will continue to be available in 10.2, but we're now also offering another view which will allow you to retain the same number of hours that you had in your original plan and show you how you'll need to work the additional hours remaining in order to reach that number. So now, because I've only worked a total of 10 hours on Monday and Tuesday, the system's saying, well, we need to catch up. And so I'm going to assume that you're then going to be working 10 hours a day, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, in order to hit that same total of 40 by the end of the week. So in this case, I've burned low. I've worked less hours than anticipated. The opposite also will happen in the system, where if you're burning hot, or working more hours initially at the beginning of the week, it would show this trailing off and have less hours to work towards the end of the week. This proration calculation not only works on a weekly level, though, it works on any kind of level. So whether that's whether you're looking at months, semi-months, years, etc. So if you think about this with many, many people over a great number of hours, and you see people burning hot or low over time, the system will adjust those hours remaining to get you the same number of hours at the end. And this is a great algorithm to use anytime that you have a contract or a project where you need to use up all the hours on that project and you're concerned about your burn rates. It's just really what this is telling you. So I'll be excited to show you this as we log into the system. And you're going to choose this when you actually go out and run the report. But before I show this, I have one more thing to show you for all of you with the portfolio license that I think you're going to be really excited about if you do any kind of grid planning. And that's the ability now to shift your periodic plans or assignments in a grid. This has been asked for a lot of years. I've been at Unanet for 9 years, and I know I've heard this suggestion once or twice. And so I'm very excited to show this one to you as well. What happens here in your grid planner is you're able to select a user or all the users and then be able to shift left or right the planned hours by the grid period that you have set up in your system. It's going to be a really easy way for you to go in and update your plans if your dates of the project have moved to the left or the right. So let's go in and take a look at a lot of these things in Unanet so that you can see some of these features real time. So I'll go over back into Unanet here. And the first thing I'll start with is that idea of the grid planner. So if I open up my grid planner and I show a number of different individuals here in my grid plan, I can go in and I can identify the individuals that I want to have their plans move. And in this case, I can shift them left or right. Now this plan is based on a monthly grid. And so if I shift to the right, what I'm doing is I'm assuming that my project will start a month later than I had originally anticipated. So it just moved everything from December, January, and February over to January, February, and March for the 2 users that I have identified. And I can do this a couple times, or I can move it back to the left. And as you can see, you can only shift things for the grid that you have available on your screen. So if you want to shift it more than the months that I've identified here, I'd have to go back and update my search tab to include additional periods out to the right or to the left. Okay, so that one's really exciting, and I think that's fun. One other thing that's been added into the criteria screen for this people planner is the ability for you to include all of the existing plans regardless of your people filters. So what that means is when you select this option, we're going to show you all the people that already have a plan plus anybody that you filter for when you go out and identify your people to plan. So if I want to include and look for Tom Brokaw here, I can search for and look for him, but because I have this selected, my grid's going to show me the individuals that already have plans, Susie and the TBD programmer, and Tom. That's a new feature available in 10.2 as well. Now, how do I get to that reporting algorithm that I thought was so cool? Well, out in the reports dashboard and any of the periodic reports that you're running that are combining together your actuals with either plans or budgets, you're going to see this new option. So if I say that I want to report on budgets or plans and include my actuals, this is where I'm able to choose if I want to look at the original plan of what's remaining after the actual through date, or if I want to look at the remaining hours, which is the calculation that I showed in the slide. Okay, and this, again, this feature, this new enhancement in the report is available in any of the periodic reports that combine actuals through a specific date with either your budgets or your plans. You'll see this throughout many of the criteria screen options in the reports. If I come back out to my reports dashboard and take a look at my project cost summary report, I can see here that I now have the new option to show the tasks here. Whenever you're showing the tasks, you have some additional options to do things like suppressing inactive tasks or those tasks without actuals. You can also use a specific task name to limit down the search here, which is great. And I think that'll be very, very helpful in a number of those cost project accounting reports, to be able to look at the cost detail information at the task level. And when you run that report using the task information, a number of these reports do pull in budget information, as you've seen before, but this always came from the project profile. Now when you're including tasks, and you're looking at a specific task, then here, in this case, I'm looking at Task 1 project support. Now these budgets are coming from the task. So I am able to look at any of my task-related budgets, as well as up at the top here, the project summary budgets. So it's a great way to be able to look at both your project budget and your task budget. And while this one shows each one of these items individually, if you go out and look, for example, at your labor cost detail report and you include your tasks here for your specific project, then you're able to look at all of that labor information at the task level and see the totals here by task, which I think is great. So many great fun new enhancements that are available in the system and lots of great things to show, but we do have a couple of more things to take a look at, and then I want to be able to leave some time for questions, so let's continue on from here. Next couple of items may be of interest to the administrators of the system. In all of your license types, we do have the ability now to have a project code generator. Project codes can be configured to automatically generate anytime you create a new project. The new codes can be configured with several nodes, including a prefix, followed by any kind of separator, so you can use a dash or a period. And then you can define also the length of that project code, so we can zero fill any numbers. They will be set up in sequence order. You have to enable this functionality in the system when you get Unanet version 10.2 under the admin properties. Once that admin property is selected to auto-generate a project code, you still have the option when you create a project to manually enter the code. If you do not supply a code, then the system, when it saves the project, will automatically generate the next code number. So that's a new feature to look forward to. If you are just numbering your projects as you create them, this may be very helpful to you. Another item that may be interest to your administrators, and particularly those that are looking at any kind of labor costs in the system, are new enhancements to the pay codes. And again, these are available in all of our licenses that include the timesheets. The first pay code enhancement allows you to add additional hourly pay on top of the standard cost rate. So for example, if you're paying something like an on-call pay, when you have an on-call pay, maybe you get $5 an hour in addition to your standard cost rate, which comes from the person's profile. Using this pay code would add this $5 rate as an additional pay on top of the standard rate. You can set this additional hourly pay by date range as well. So if this dollar amount will escalate over time, I can put in here that starting on October 1st of 2017, these individuals on call will be making an additional $6.50 an hour, and the system will automatically look for that date and apply that new dollar amount on top of the standard cost rate salary from the person's profile when calculating their pay rate. So this is a great feature that we've heard a lot of suggestions for over the years, and we're very happy to be able to now offer this additional hourly pay lift on top of a person's standard cost rate. The other pay code enhancement that we've added is a leave without pay indicator. And what this will do is it allows you to select the option where the cost rate factor and the additional pay per hour rate will be defaulted to 0, and they're not editable. And what will happen is when you have this leave without pay indicator identified and a user records hours to this pay code, the hours will be worth $0 and will not be included as part of the dilution calculation. So for any payroll managers out there, anybody working on labor cost rates and trying to confirm that they are set up accurately, these two new pay code enhancements can be very helpful to you. We hope that you can take advantage of these options. Remember that there are two different ways to restrict how a pay code can be associated with time. The first is that pay codes can be restricted to certain projects. So you may just have a leave without pay, for example, on a single leave without pay project and not available on other projects like direct projects. You can also restrict pay codes by person using the employee type group. So you may have some people that are eligible for this idea of additional hourly pay, or some people that are eligible for things like leave without pay, and you can set those pay codes to be available to individuals using the employee types. So do remember that as you're working with these pay code options. Another feature that's available in 10.2 is the indirect rate calculation from GL budgets. So if you have our financial license, you will be able to go out in your budget names, the GL budget names that you've set up. We can have the cost pool calculations based on the selected budget for a forecast calculation. Same that you're currently doing, but now using a GL budget instead of the actuals. This is useful for business planning to estimate your expected rates in the future, and this can also be shown in the statement of indirect rates as well as including the cost pool calculations for your GL budget. So if you are looking at, from a financials perspective, you are setting up GL budgets and you want to use those as part of your indirect cost rate calculations, you can do that. All right, last but not least, well, actually not last but not least, I have a couple more here. Another new feature available in 10.2 are some contact enhancements. So in Unanet, you've had the ability to go in and set up contacts at the organization level to be used for invoicing or to just retain contact information. Now there are a number of new contact enhancements that have been released. There's a new quick search filter on the organization dashboard to allow you to access and search for contact information. So that's going to be a great enhancement. When every time you're looking for a contact, you don't remember what organization they're associated with, you can use this quick search to search by name. We have two new roles for contacts, the contact manager and the contact viewer. This allows you to facilitate the management of organizational contact information. The new rules can be restricted by organization access with the access type of contact. The edit and view screens for contact information now have created by and last updated by details displayed. We have a number of new or updated import information, the organization address export and the organization contact export have new fields, and then you can import this information. The contact categories have also been added, which is giving you the ability to add a new contact or tag, contact category or tag for each one of your contacts. So let's go take a look at some of these new contact enhancements in Unanet. If I go out to my organization's dashboard, the contact quick search is available right here on the organization dashboard. As I mentioned, things like going in and being able to search by a name is really maybe very helpful if you don't recall what organization someone belongs to, but you remember their name. Here are my contacts. We also have the opportunity for you to add new contact categories out under the admin setup menu. The contact categories are set up in the miscellaneous area, so the administrator will be able to create new contact categories as needed. Perhaps you need to have new contact categories for things like your government agencies, type of contacts, for example, versus your commercial contacts or something like that. And once you've set up a contact category back in your organization contacts, you're going to be able to go in and add that information into your contact. Okay. Using this categorize option. In addition to the manual update of this information out on your admin dashboard for the administrators, you will be able to go out and export this information so that you can then create a copy of that file to be able to import the contact information back in and be able to update the information or delete it as needed using an import file. You can also check into our Knowledge Center for information about importing and exporting contact information. Next up, in some new roles, in addition to contact manager and viewer, we also have new budget roles. So you'll see in the person profile, new bill budget manager or cost budget manager roles. What these roles do is expose on the project profile the budget information. If you're a bill budget manager, that would give you access to the bill dollars. If you're a cost budget manager, the cost dollars for labor and expenses. What this means ultimately is that a project manager without those budget manager roles would not have access to come in and modify any of the budget information in their project profile, even though as a project manager they do have access to modify the values in the other tabs of the project profile. This was something that was suggested by our customers. They wanted to be able to give a project manager the ability to modify some data but not the budgets, which they wanted to have controlled by a specific individual, which they can now do by giving that specific individual the budget manager roles. Maybe somebody like your contracts manager. Another way that we're able to control access now is by a new feature of organization access. So just as a quick reminder, unrelated to 10.2, this has always been in Unanet, we have two different organizations associated with each project. There's an owning organization, which represents the department that's going to own the revenue for that project. And we also have a project organization, which represents the customer. So we now have organization access for person roles based on both the owning organization and the project organization. So let's take, for example, this user, Tom Brokaw. He's a billing viewer, which means he has access to view invoices. Based on his organization access, on the project access type, meaning the customer, we're going to allow him to see all customers and their invoices, but based on the owning organization or the department, we're only going to allow the billing viewer for the ITPMO owning organization. So what this results in is the ability for Tom to see the invoices for any customer where the project is owned by his department, the ITPMO. So this combination of owning and project organization access means that most restrictive wins. So it is a combination of access that you'll be using here. And this is a great way to be able to expand view or restrict view of individuals to specific information. Another great enhancement that has been asked for on the project side is the ability to run your project alerts based on your gross revenue and based on % of gross revenue to your funded value. That's going to really help you to be able to get those notifications when your funded values are nearly used and you need to request additional funding. So I hope that you definitely are able to use those new project alerts to help you manage your incremental funding. All right, really this time, folks, last but not least, we have a new single sign-on capability. This sign-on from the web for our larger customers have asked for this capability. It allows you to develop a relationship between the ISS providers to verify your login, so you can use the same login for many of your software tools. If you have any questions about this, or if you're interested in using the capability, please contact our support team at support@unanet.com. So just as a final reminder, Saturday, January 21st is the date that 10.2 will be upgraded on your on-demand environment. If you are hosting Unanet on your own, 10.2 is available now for you to download and apply into your test or production environments. So with that said, it's time for questions. Zoe, do we have any questions out there from the audience?
Hi, Christiane. Yeah, we do have a couple. The first one is, what about a vendor or customer center that lists all the invoices and vouchers related to those vendors all in one place?
Okay, that's a good question. I will look up here at the reports, and let's see, for example, in my AR activity, I am able to search for a customer here in my AR activity report, which I think is going to give me this information that I'm looking for. So if I look for just customer 2, for the previous year, that's going to allow me to look at all the customer kind of, if you will, transactions or information for that customer. And I would guess then that on the AP activity report that I'm able to look for the same kind of thing here by vendor. So I'm hoping that answers that question, but if not, please chat back in and let Zoe know that you have a different question on this one.
Okay, next question. In 10.2, will more reports become exportable to Excel, primarily looking for the statement of indirects?
Well, that's a good question. The statement of indirects report. Let's see. I don't see that option here. So that's a great one to add to our suggestions list, the suggestions@unanet.com. I do know from speaking with our product management team that they realize that that is something that people have often requested, is to have the Excel download available for more of our reports. But please do add suggestions for specific reports where you're looking for that functionality so that we can get that into our development list.
Terrific, Christiane. That's all our questions for today.